co-founder of Prysmatic when I introduce you?
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay.
And you can go ahead whenever you want. We are recording now.
All right. Are we also live on YouTube?
Correct, yep.
Okay, because I was... hey, everybody. I'm SuperPhiz. I'm from the xDAI community, and I am here with two of my friends today. First, Michael Geeson, who you know as Embeddika. He's going to provide our dev support today. And we have Preston Van Loon, who is a co-founder of Prysmatic Labs. The kind of thing we all have in common is we are part of the Ethereum beacon chain, or what you call ETH2, the staking community. And so Preston has been spending the past couple years developing with his team the Prysmatic or Prysm Client. And Michael and I kind of run we support the ETHstaker community at reddit.com/r/ETHstaker and Discord invite.gg/ETHstaker. And the reason we're here today is because we share an obsession. We have been hooked on Dark Forest. Let me mute my YouTube. We've been hooked on Dark Forest, this wildly awesome game. And so what we want to do today is kind of give you just a really brief intro to the game, but more than that, we want to dive into this neat feature that was released a couple weeks ago. That is JavaScript plugins for the game, which basically allow you to script the game. And so I don't want to do all the talking. Hey, so Preston, do you want to tell us, can we talk a little about what is Dark Forest?
Yeah, so Dark Forest is this online, it's like a web-based game powered by Ethereum. It's running on the xDAI staging network. But the cool part about it is that it's kind of like it's a space exploration game where there's this kind of fog of war, and it's all discovered, or everything is found through using zero knowledge proofs. So it's kind of like no one really knows what is out there until you go prove that it's there. So it's kind of a really unique game, very different from anything else I've played, and it's strangely extremely addicting. So it's really a fun game, and I'm excited to talk about it.
Yeah, and so I'm not a gamer. I find that if I push myself, I can play a game. I did play that big Nintendo Switch game. What's that one called? With the farm, it's the Islands game. God, I don't even remember the name of it. But the point is, I'm not a gamer. But playing this for like 15 minutes, I have just been completely obsessed with it. And I am at the point where I am skipping responsibilities and avoiding life just so I can play. So that tells me, it's got great value to it. So yeah, you have the basics of the game, and right now they're still in alpha, and they just released. So they're opening up this version 5 alpha for public play. They're going to drop 3,000 keys here in the next few days, and I guess this weekend, which is now. And part of that goes along with a plugins contest. And so there's a link for the plugins contest. The best place I should encourage you to get started is on their Discord. They opened up a Discord about 2 weeks ago, and the Discord is really hopping. If you look at the pinned post under plugins, you'll find a bunch of information. But there's a new blog post today that describes a contest where the community can create plugins and earn DAI rewards. That's like DAI as in dollar rewards for creating the best plugins. From the player perspective, like when you start playing Dark Forest, you start clicking on your planets and you start doing things. But the moment, will you be doing a screen share? Is that okay? Is that?
Yeah.
I can start too, but I know it's gonna come up at some point. I just want to show real quick. when you discover this plugin tool up here, you open up a plugin library, and you can see now what I already have installed. And these are really easy to run plugins. They're open source, so basically you find them on the internet, and the place to find them right now, I think I have it plugged in. Yeah. So right now, the best public repository is plugins.zkga.me. And I'll tell you, a lot of people are also writing these privately and using them for their own benefit. And so what we're hoping to do today is to bridge that gap for new users, to kind of give you, even give me, because I'm curious, a foot in the door to begin creating plugins. And so most of my jabber is over. I want to hand it over to Preston to see kind of what you can help us figure out about how to use these plugins.
Yeah, let me share my screen and we can start talking about it. And what I want to do, so I've got the screen just loaded here from, this is what you do when you log in. So it's zk.ga.me, so it's zero knowledge game, basically. And again, it's an online web-based game, and it's multiplayer, and it's all running on Ethereum on the xDAI staging network, and it's super cool. So let's dive in.
Are you sharing it? Because I'm having trouble finding it if you are.
Oh, you're not seeing it?
Well, my share window still seems to be up. It could be my fault. Michael, whose share screen do you see? Do you see one?
Yeah, I'm seeing Preston's, I believe. Yeah.
Okay, so I need to figure out what I'm doing wrong then.
Okay, well, I'll keep going then. Okay,
yeah,
so
go ahead, please. Sure.
yeah, so once you enter the game, you're greeted with this prompt, and if it's your first time, I think it'll ask you to maybe create an account. I already have one, so I'm gonna choose option A, and this is account 1. To join this game, you have to have an invite key or token. I've already been whitelisted, so I've already had that key entered. So now what it's doing is downloading all of the information for this game from the xDAI staging network, and it takes a little while because it is a pretty big universe already. So it's just loading now. And so I joined this game.
I need to
Sorry,
restart my Zoom. I need to restart Zoom. I don't think it's going to affect you all, but I'll be right back.
Okay. Anyway, so I was on the mailing list for this game because I played in an earlier round. I think I played in version 0.2 maybe earlier last year, probably 6 months ago. And even then it was a really fun game, but since then they've added things like plugins, and now it's on the xDAI network, so it's much faster than running on Rinkeby or Robstein or whatever it was. And so I got my invite key through the mailing list. I got it on Saturday, and that weekend I just started hacking together plugins and sort of messing around, because there was a prize if you're in the top 15, and I really wanted to be in the top 15, so I started hacking around.
Have you tried running the xDAI chain locally?
I did, yeah, I did. So I ran into a few problems on my laptop. So I used a ThinkPad for work, because my work laptop, and it's just like this laptop's trashed basically, because I've just been basically grinding it into the ground, building E2 and doing all these things, and then now when you're trying to do all these zero knowledge proofs and confirm these transactions, it takes a toll on the CPU, and especially when you're using like a shared xDAI node. Everyone was using it. I was finding that my transactions were timing out, so I used a second computer. I have this really old gaming machine that I had, and I set up my xDAI server on that, and I was connecting to that on my local Wi-Fi, and that really helped with my transactions getting through.
Yeah, I was very impressed with that performance boost. Sorry, that was off topic from plugins, but just a curiosity.
Yeah, it's not a requirement, but if you're finding that your transactions are failing to go through or timing out, it might be a good idea to run your own. And if you're just interested in that, it's a fun thing to do. All right, so let's take a look at my game. I did make it in the top 15. I got 10th place, so that was really cool. What you have here is you have this giant universe, this big circle, where as a new player you're going to randomly pick your home planet, and hopefully you're not near a bunch of power players, and throughout the game you're exploring each little block using your like a miner. So it's actually looking at a piece of the universe and then running through the zero knowledge proof and then putting the data onto your map. And the objective of this game, or at least what it was for the contest, was to get a high score. And the way the scoring works is they take your top 10 planets, they take the score of your top 10 planets, all the points, and they add those up, and they also take your silver score, or how much silver you own and how much silver you've spent, and they take 30% of that and they tack that on to your score, your total score. So next question is like, what is silver? So silver is, well, first of all, you have planets, right? So when you start with your home planet, you're probably going to get a small planet like this one, for example. Oops. Okay, so I have this planet. This one is rank 1 or rank 0, so it's one of the lower level planets. And what I can do here is I can send my planet's energy to basically conquer another planet. So I just dragged that along from one planet to another. You can see over here it's doing that move, calculating the zero knowledge things that it needs to do, the witness and the proof. And then it's going to send that transaction out to the xDAI network. And then we'll see the energy move very slowly along this line. So, okay, so it just went through. This will,
and you'll see that that line will turn solid. That line turns solid as soon as the confirmation or the transaction is confirmed.
Exactly. So now you can see this is going through the energy, or like the forces, if you want to call them that, are traveling through space to come onto this new planet called Collapse Search, and it's unclaimed, not claimed by myself or any other player. And now if I only had this one planet and now I'm about to have a second one, that's going to increase my top 10 score, and so on. So the goal here is to capture these high value planets. They have different ranks, the ranking, and more importantly, the energy capacity is what influences the score of a planet. All right, in 10 seconds it's going to reach, and then I will have claimed this rank 0 planet.
And it's worth noting, in real gameplay, some of those transfers of power can take several hours, moving across great distances, so a lot of waiting.
Yep, yeah, it's a very slow moving game. It almost feels like a turn-based game, except that you know everyone's kind of on their own timeline. So you can check on this every once in a while. It's not like a fast action game where if you like went to go get a cup of coffee, you came back and someone's taken all your planets. You'll have lots of time for real life activities like work and eating and stuff like that. So the next aspect of the game is this these asteroid these are asteroid fields, and the asteroid fields generate silver. So you can see here we have silver. It's the silver mine. You use the silver now to then upgrade your planet. So if your planet is, I think, rank 2 or higher, or rank 1 or higher, you can use silver to buy upgrades. So taking a look at an upgrade, I can upgrade the defense of this planet, make it harder for other players to capture. I can increase its range, which is how far the energy will go. And then the speed of the energy traveling throughout the universe. And then again, when I spin the silver, it still counts towards my silver score, and the silver score again is 30%. 30% of that increases my total score. So with my silver mine or my asteroid belt, I can send. Let's try to send some silver to this planet, and then we could then upgrade it once that gets there. So this is just like we did to capture this planet, but this time we're also sending silver, which is represented by this yellow or gold text at the top of the asteroid field. Okay, so it's submitted the transaction to xDAI, and then it confirms very quickly. There it goes. So now the map will update. Probably, there it goes. Okay, so now we see this move is happening, and it's going to take over 5 minutes, and it's sending silver and it's sending energy. And it's going to my own planet, so it's going to increase this planet's silver capacity. And once it gets there, we're not going to wait for it just right now, but once it gets there, I would have the 62 silver I need to buy the first upgrade. And I think you can upgrade these 3 or 4 times. It makes your planet stronger, increases the energy, and then of course increases whatever attribute we selected, defense, range, or speed. And so what you're ultimately doing is you're expanding your reach. So I have all these white planets here. Purple and other colors represent my neighbors. And you can see this is a neighbor sending some long range. Look at that one, 4,000 seconds. So long range attacks. They're capturing this unclaimed planet here. This unclaimed planet has pirates on it. So you need to you need to have your forces arrive with at least 4 to conquer this planet that has pirates on it. And this one is particularly high defense, so it has 800 defense. And you can think of this as a percentage. So you need 800% of whatever energy is here. So you need 8 times 4, right? So you're not just going to need 4 units. You're going to need extra.
I didn't realize that. I always send way too much, but I didn't realize that equation.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's a big part of deciding which planets you want. Planets here in the this dark blue space have higher defense, and your home planet is always going to be in this dark blue space. These planets are much harder to capture. So if you see one like this looks like a rank 2 planet. That's a good one starting out because it's going to be harder for other players to take it. So look at this one. It has 1,800% defense. So I would have to send a lot of energy to conquer that one. It's basically going to be not even worth it or very difficult. This guy doesn't have enough. He needs 10 times that. He's got to arrive with 80,000 energy pretty much.
Which is funny because that's a level 3 rank 2, which is not a significant planet, but it's nearly impossible to take. So that's kind of neat.
Yeah, it's going to be harder to take than this giant one right here. Almost. Yeah, this one only has 75%, so you need less than this 150,000 energy. Okay, interesting. So these red circles have just appeared. What it means is that I can see on my map that there is an attack coming from somewhere, from someone to this planet. And the origin planet that attack is coming from, I haven't discovered it in my fog of war. So it's just showing up as a red circle because I don't know who sent it or where it's coming from.
Well, and that's likely because we're live now and people are seeing your gameplay. Is it
possibly? Yeah. So it could be this purple guy here, Mr. Agent K, could be trying to take this planet in real time right in front of us, and he may have his planets up here in these discovered blocks in my fog of wars, or it could be this green guy sending energy to himself. We don't know who sent the attack, so it just shows up red because we don't know who it's coming from or where it's coming from, but we know it came from this. It's currently this far away, so it's likely that it's someone in these dark spaces over here that I have not uncovered my fog of war yet. Okay, so now
it's worth pointing out that that's 2,400 seconds away, so it's going to take 40 minutes. Is that right? 60, yeah, something like 40 minutes for that red circle to zoom in on a planet. That's the pace of the game.
Yeah, and some planets have this super long range. Like, look at this one. This one can go really far. And if just that circle takes, 40 minutes, sending all the way down here it takes hours. And it did. I mean, this is my best silver mine, and it has doubled the range. So sometimes you find planets that have a stat that's randomly doubled, and that's really good to have, especially this one. It's a rank 6 asteroid field, so rank 7 is the highest you can get. Rank 6 is really great, and it has a ton of energy, and I'm able to fill silver, and I'm able to fill my big planets with silver, increasing my silver score and also upgrading those planets. So oh, cool. Another thing we can look at here is you can buy these hats and put a hat on your planet. It just looks cool. I think it costs 1 DAI. The funds go to the development team or the prize pool or something like that. So if you're a big fan of the game and you want to support the developers, buy a hat for your planet. You have this little hat icon. Yeah, so he's bought each level, the hat cost increases. So the next one for this planet would be 32 DAI, and I don't have enough, so I can't help out there. But if you're a big fan and you have extra DAI, definitely consider supporting the team through the hats, because it kind of gives a cool little novelty to your favorite planet.
Something I'd like to add to that is these types of interactions are historically the types of interactions that if Dark Forest ever decided to reward players in some way, this is the kind of interaction that they would look for. So basically, if you support them now, and I don't know anything, I know no backstory about how this works, but historically, when players participate in this program, like buying silly hats, it increases the likelihood that if Dark Forest says, hey, we want to give back to players with this token or this airdrop or whatever, that's the database they would use for that. So just keep that in mind as you think, hey, it might actually benefit you in the long run to support them. Just my thought.
Yeah, definitely, because this is a really fun game, and they're doing things like incentivizing the plugin contest and the top 15 players, and just making it really, really appealing. I think that if there wasn't that prize, I probably wouldn't have spent so much time on this. But it is a fun game. I would have played it either way. So I started here somewhere and just kind of expanded my circle to be about this big, which took a good part of most of a week. And I didn't do it manually, right? I didn't go like looking around and dragging that line everywhere on my laptop trackpad. I wrote plugins to do everything, to make my life easier, to find the best stuff, to find the artifacts, which we haven't talked about yet, and which are NFTs, that you can put onto your planets that boost some of the stats. I automated all that through plugins. The plugin functionality is amazing, and I can't wait to see what comes out of this plugin contest. And I hope that by the end of this call, you're able to start hacking away on plugins and kind of writing your own stuff. Okay, so let's take a look at artifacts real quick. There's 4 levels of rarity. You have legendary, epic, rare, and common, and this really just influences the power of the boost of those artifacts. If I go click on one, let's take a look at the Tome of Steve. That sounds like a good one. This one increases defense by 40% and lowers some of the other stats by 10 to 30%. So we have energy growth, the range, and the speed. So if, say for example, someone was trying to take one of my favorite planets, I might put this artifact on there to boost up the defense, so it makes it harder for them to attack it. Conversely, if I had one that boosted the energy, I would want to put that on one of my top planets so that it boosted its score. And if we look at my Soda Undesirable, my biggest planet, it has an energy booster of 80%. So this one's going to be really hard to take because you need 370 energy, 1,000 energy. Of course, it's multiplied by just 78%. So, but you still need a lot. And this has ended up giving me a huge score, boosting me into the top 10. Artifacts are really cool to find. They're really neat. And then they're NFTs. So when this game goes live to mainnet, you can trade them on the open market or use them on your planets.
It's worth noting that there are classes of artifacts, so like statues, idols, and those different classes have different relative attributes. And so some of them increase speed. So tombs, I know, increase armor. I don't remember many off the top of my head, but you can almost kind of guess what an artifact is going to do by looking at the type of artifact it is.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, there's these 4 classes of artifacts, and yeah, you're right. They do a little bit different stuff, and there's also like regional stuff. So there's like a forest type, which is like a influencer on the stats, and then the class, which is like Colossus or Monolith or whatever. Okay, so let's take a look at some of my plugins that I've written and what they do. So most of mine are entirely written by me, or at least modified in some way from the plugin. Repository. So everyone starts out with the README, which kind of just is a demonstration of what the plugins can do. We'll take a look at it. A plugin pops up this dialog box, and then you can just display information here, and you can add buttons that do stuff. And I've also seen sliders and different things. So if I was to click this, it does a little confetti, and it made me think that I was going to get a free artifact, which is really cool, but it was all a lie. It doesn't give you an artifact. It's yeah, but my game's really grinding really slow because there's so much information going on here, and this is my laptop, and we're on Zoom. So if you don't have a nice computer, your game might be a little slow like mine is. All right, we don't have to wait for that. Let's dive into the next thing. So quick upgrade. This is one that it was based off of the open source plugin that's out there that you can basically upgrade all of your planets at once. And for me, it was getting to be too expensive because I had too many planets, and a lot of planets I didn't care about anymore, like some of the lower rank ones. So I modified this one to only upgrade rank 4 and above. And I'm not much of a UI person, so all of my plugins are like super simple. They kind of describe what it does and what it means to me. So this is, do I want to upgrade the planets? And then I have a button to click that makes it happen. So let's look at, we'll look at how they work after. I just want to show what I was using to get into the top 10 first. So I had the one that would upgrade all the planets. The first one I had written was this auto conquer, which is basically looking for planets that I thought would be high value, that is high ranking planets, asteroid fields that generated silver, and then planets that had artifacts on them, and then certain players that I didn't like. So neighbors who tried to take my stuff, they ended up on my destroy list basically, and then I would annihilate them, which is fun, part of the game. Like it's multiplayer, and there is sometimes huge wars that go on, and it's exciting and it's fun and it's a little crazy. So
I've also seen some Twitter truces where you and your neighbor are both tagged on Twitter, and you're like, hey, please don't hurt me, and it's like, hey, okay, let's be cool and let's go somewhere else. So I guess it goes both ways.
Yeah, exactly. When I was first starting, I started getting into Mr. Agent K's space here, and my plugin started attacking like this planet. And I was on the Discord, and he says, "Why are you doing that? Why are you attacking me?" And I'm like,
it's a game.
Oh, yeah. I'm like, "Oh, dude, it's my plugin. Like, whatever. It's just what are you gonna do about it, basically?" And I couldn't see what he had or what place he was in, and he sent like 2 attacks from really far away and onto my best planet, and he was going to take it right away. So I was like, okay, I cannot mess with this guy anymore. He called them warning shots. I had to like scramble to figure it out. I had to put the right artifact on that to stop the attack, or I was going to lose my best planet. So sometimes you form truces that way. I never took one of his things again. Even though now I think a higher rank than him, it was just, it's not worth it to start a war with this guy because he's going to end up taking a lot of my stuff, and I'll be here watching all day trying to defend it. So I left him alone. Okay, so the next one I did was, this one's called Rebalance. And what it does is it looks for my silver mines or my asteroid fields that have at least, I think, 80% full, and sends the silver to the planets that need it the most. And of course, the point of this was to increase my silver score by maxing out the silver on planets and then upgrading them and then maxing it out again. So this one is one I used a lot to, mostly for this guy who's got a ton of silver, to spread it out through all of my planets. And then we have the Artifactory, which is a mostly stock plugin, amazing plugin, helps you manage artifacts. So here I have an artifact on this desert planet, and to find, like, you can see there's an undiscovered artifact on a planet. See if I click on this, I think it'll take me there. Right, so it has this like gift box on it. You can see, let me get this out of the way. If I zoom in, you can see it on the planet. So this gift box means there's an unfound artifact, and you have to have 95% energy to find it. So this plugin helps you locate those. It'll also auto find them. So this is super, super helpful. And I'm going to do it now so we can see what we get from this planet called Sagtos, which is kind of a weird name. But I think it's all randomly generated. So it's calculating the snark, zero knowledge stuff for this artifact. Then, okay, it's submitting it, and then it's going to reveal to me in the UI what it was. Hopefully it's a legendary one. Let's see. Okay, you might have to click it. Okay, cool. So it's a triangle one. I don't know what that's called. One of the defense ones. And okay, this is a pretty nice one. So it boosted my defense by 60%, but lowers the energy. And this is an epic one. So cool. That was a great find. Now, once you find an artifact or put an artifact on a planet, it's actually has a cooldown before you can move it again, before you can withdraw it, and that's 12 hours. So I can see here all the artifacts I'm eligible to withdraw. And now something I didn't like about this plugin is that when I put strategic artifacts on here and I had this auto withdraw enabled, it would take them off of my planets where I wanted them to stay. So I modified this code a little bit to only withdraw from planets that were lower than rank 4, which was pretty easy to do. We can dive into that in a bit.
That's great,
another plugin I used a lot was this
very much what I'm excited about. Like we have a plugin, but we just want to tweak like one little parameter. So that's great.
Exactly. Yeah, we'll dive into that one first because that's a good place to start. Another thing I did was, or this is another one I used very extensively, was this remote explorer. So as you saw at the beginning of the game, there's like an explorer or a miner basically that is grinding through all these zero knowledge proofs. And as I said before, my laptop really sucks from years of abuse in developing ETH2. That I am running a remote explorer, so on my other gaming PC on my home network, and this is running a Rust based. It's written in Rust, the programming language, and it's much faster than the JavaScript one. So even if you don't have a second machine, you might consider running this on your local machine, because with this laptop I'm getting like 300 hashes per second. With this computer I'm getting 6,000. Some people have gotten like 30,000 using like DigitalOcean, these other things. So I use this a lot. It's kind of hard to set up, but once you get it set up, you're gonna be glad you did it. So this is, whereas it's mining some new space that I haven't discovered yet. That's a little, there it goes, it moved and just discovered like a little bit there. So
the neatest thing about that too is if you have several miners, even if they're relatively weak miners, you can point them at different areas. So if you want to see like, you know, you're curious about multiple areas, you can run each miner in a different place. And that's really really useful.
Yep, and you can run, there's 2 different types of patterns. So this one is running in a spiral based on wherever I had put the marker. But you can also do this like Swiss one, which is like kind of like Swiss cheese, and it does like every other block. So here you can see this, and this is to help you find areas of the universe you want to explore more. So you mostly want to be looking at this deep space. That's where the highest ranking planets are and the best asteroid fields. So using the Swiss Explorer algorithm, I guess, can be helpful to help you find that stuff. You have to keep it open for it to continue working. I'm gonna close it because I don't really care to expand my map right now. One thing I did edit about this is that the default starting point is 0, 0, so in the center of the map, which I thought was kind of goofy. I set it to my home planet origin, which is over here somewhere. So whenever I started the game, it wouldn't mine this circle anymore. I don't really care about over there too far. It would mine closer to the center of my planets. So there's another one I tweaked a little bit. Targeter, this is another public one. I think this is Nick Johnson's plugin, where you can choose, I haven't used it much, but you can choose a planet like this one here, and you can look at all of the planets that you have that are in range. And what it's supposed to do is schedule these attacks in terms of time, so they all arrive at the same time, which is helpful for those planets that cannot be taken by the energy of one of my planets. So if I'm sending from this guy over here, it might take an hour for that to get there. This one might take 15 minutes to get there. So this plugin can help you time out your attacks better, and capture planets that otherwise would not be feasible to do.
I love that plugin, by the way. It's so wildly powerful, like almost dangerously powerful.
Yeah. Thankfully, I haven't engaged in too many PvP wars or player versus player wars and haven't needed it. I think another cool plugin idea would be like a defender of some kind. So if you're under attack from this plugin,
Ooh.
you can schedule, and maybe you can use it for this. You can schedule the attacks to your own planet to give reinforcement energy to help defend it. That might be cool.
That's a great idea, and that's a good time to point out. I know everyone knows about it or is hearing about it. That Dark Forest released that blog post today talking about the plugin competition. Defender sounds like a real.
Yep, that would be neat. And then the last one here is
targeter and load everything up.
Yeah.
Sorry, I may have logged out. And so if you've got Defender, you're feeding energy into that at the same time someone's attacking you. It's kind of neat.
Yeah, and then the last plugin we have here is something that's missing from the default UI is the ability to gift a planet to somebody. The functionality is all there from the API perspective, but it's just not possible to do in the UI. So maybe I accidentally took my neighbor's planet and I want to give it back. I can go through the list here and choose somebody I want to give it to. SuperPhiz, what's your handle on here? I'll give you this planet.
I'm under logic at logic_beach.
Okay, I wish this was sorted. Okay, there
That's not actually me, but yeah.
Okay, well, just to demo this, I can give you this planet. And now, another thing about this game, though, is that it may not, I don't think it notifies you that you have it. And if you haven't discovered this space, you're not going to see it either. So, yeah, now you have it.
I wonder, let me see. Can you show the coordinates for it? I know you're in the southeast. Oh, actually, oh no, maybe that's a pixeled out.
The coordinates, here they are.
Oh, got it. 428. Yeah, I see nothing. 98,351.
Yeah. This button do. Yeah, I can click this button.
I thought that I might possibly just see like the planet block and nothing else, but I don't see it.
Yeah, that's the thing is that what you see in the game is this location like hash, and you need to do the zero knowledge, basically to do the zero knowledge snark proof to be able to translate that to this location coordinates. So you're not going to see it until you discover this. So I guess you could put your miner here and start mining around it. But that's kind of how the fog of war works.
Cool.
Great. So those are the things I use. I'm sure there are more helpful things, but the point was I wanted to expand my control of planets as far as I could and collect as much silver as I could, as quickly as I could, and then also punish people that try to take my stuff. So so the artifact tree one, let's take a look at that. When you look at a plugin, it's just JavaScript, and these components are based on the React framework. So if you've ever written anything in React, then you're gonna love this because it's just gonna work. Let's see. So where was it? It was with the withdraw stuff that I added this like modifier. So let's see, can. This like UI is not great for editing. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna copy and paste it into Visual Studio, and then I can read it. I'm gonna call it plugin. Okay, so can withdraw. Here's what I did: is there's this withdraw artifacts function, and I basically filtered out any planet that was lower. I filtered to only have planets that were lower than rank 4 because I didn't want to take the artifacts off my good planets that I was using to defend. So that's a pretty easy example of something you can tweak really quickly. Let's go into my big one here, this auto conquer. This is the one I spent the most amount of time on. And so the basic skeleton here is you have this class thing, and you have a render function, and these are really the two things you need to at least that I worried about is like I want to display some information and register my plugin. And so when the plugin loads, it's going to call the render function. You get this container object which you can use to call render, which is like the React thing. Not much of a UI guy anymore, so and I've never written anything in React, so this is new to me. But what it's doing is rendering some HTML and then loading this app function in there. And the app function returns some HTML. HTML says, do you want to conquer everything? And it shows my button. And when you click the button, it calls onto my big conquer everything function. And then of course, I haven't yet open source this and put it publicly, but I will now the contest is over. And it's really not that secret sauce. It's what I would have done or what you would have done manually. It just saved me a lot of clicking. So taking a look here, I added this like little debugging thing where I didn't want to stack my UI with too many moves because my computer sucks, and if you get a lot of moves that are like still processing, you'll run out of memory and the game will crash. So I had this like functionality here for debugging. The first thing I wanted to do though, and maybe I'll make this bigger. I don't know if you can see it. First thing I wanted to do is I wanted to find out which of my planets were under attack, and because I didn't want to move energy away from planets that were under attack. So you have this global option or global thing called DF, and DF of course stands for dark forest, and it has all these like helper methods on it, basically how you interact with the game. And I don't know if there is like a written documentation on the API. What I did was I went into the JavaScript console, and I wrote it here. I wrote DF, and then I would look at it, and I look at this proto thing, and this shows all the methods you can call. And I kind of just read all of them to see what I was supposed to do. So for example, we wanted to get voyages, I think is what we just looked at. Wait, what was it? Get all voyages. And so I could look at this, and I can click here. I'm sure there's a better way to do it, but this is what I did. I clicked on this, and this is the game manager file, and I read the code to figure out what's going on. I wish there was an API site, and if there is, it's great. I don't know about it though.
I looked the same way you did. I can interpret as well as you did, but that's the first obvious logical.
And of course, it's TypeScript, which is such a relief over JavaScript. So I knew what was coming back here without having to read the exact implementation of this entity store. So it turns an array of queued arrivals. So using JavaScript array functionality, I added a filter. So I wanted a filter for all of these voyages, which are attacks. I want to filter out any of the attacks that are not like attacks that don't originate from me. So v.player, the voyage player, is the person who initiated the attack. And I just said, okay, if it's not coming from me to myself, we're not going to consider that attack. So df.account is my account. And then I'm going to add the planet data. So the voyage doesn't have planet data on it. I have to call it here. So I do a map thing, which takes each voyage and then will return the value of this. So it's basically mapping voyages to planets. And then I'm doing another filter, basically only filtering out planets that I own. And then mapping it again. I only want the location ID. So it gets a little complicated, but it kind of brings you back to the basics of like iterating through data and mapping arrays and kind of messing around with arrays.
So when you wrote this, I did you write the filters consecutively? Because I would write one to try to get it right, and then I would test it. And I'm curious what your testing procedure is.
Yeah, so I usually would run it in the console. So I would have pasted this and then wrote it. I would write most of the stuff in here and then see what came out. So of course I'm not under attack right now, so it's not very helpful. But I would write get voyages, and this is all of the attacks going on in the game right now that I can see. I think there's almost 600 of them, so I could look at each of them and see what kind of data was there, and that helped me write my filters and my maps, my map functions and stuff like that.
Okay, that I think that's the big hang up for me. Like I can write very small snippets, but I need to. I have to test a lot and check and recheck and redo because there's not a lot. I don't have a lot of skill, so there's a whole lot of testing, and I guess I need to find some way to have useful output from testing it on the console to say, yes, this did what you wanted it to do, or no, you're totally lost.
Yeah, and I made a ton of mistakes doing this. So usually when I'm at work writing code, I write a test first, a unit test, and it's usually like well-scoped logic. But when we're working here, it's like fast and loose, and like sometimes I'm under attack and going crazy. So I'm trying to get my plugin working as fast as I can. And I got so much Boolean logic inverted where it was stuff like, I don't want to attack any players, so I'm going to add a thing here. And I got it backwards, so it was only attacking players. And I clicked the button, and it launched 100 attacks on everyone around me. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna upset everyone again. So I like to try it out in here and see what comes out before I do it. So the JavaScript console and then writing it in VS Code, that's how I was doing my workflow. And then I would run it in
the actual plugin.
In the actual plugin. And what you can do, and what I did a lot, was I just like copied and pasted my whole plugin into my JavaScript console. And it would complain, okay, plugin's not defined, but everything else worked. So I can call my conquer function from here, and it will do all the same stuff that
just that one function to tell you where you're at it. Okay.
Yeah. It would call this, and it would work. I mean, and that's what the plugin is doing. So if we went back to the plugin app, when you click the button, it's calling this function.
Yeah.
So I could shortcut this and just do it from the console, and that was the fastest way I iterated. So I didn't have to paste it in here and then load it again and click the button. I just did it in the console.
Something I don't quite understand. Why isn't code you paste in the console not executed in the game?
So I didn't actually execute anything in the console. I just pasted all the definitions.
Okay.
So it's just basically like this function I added.
You're checking the function, not actually calling it in real life.
Yeah, exactly. So, this is interesting here. I had this beep thing. So what I could do is I could paste this beep, and I have this beep function. You probably didn't hear it, but it beeped.
We did.
And then I was doing this set interval thing. Beep. So, and I would set it to 3 seconds. So whenever I wasn't making a move, every 3 seconds it would beep at me to do something. So I could schedule a bunch of moves and then go back to work, and then my computer would start beeping and say, "Oh, it's time to play again."
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. So that's another thing you can do for the plugin contest is a plugin that's showing all of your unconfirmed moves, a plugin that beeps at you when all your transactions have gone through and you're ready to schedule some more work. I would have used that a lot. I didn't write it, but
yeah, I'm still never clear when my transaction queue is finished or not. Like I kind of wing it a lot.
Yeah, this thing was scheduling like hundreds of moves at a time, and my computer being very slow takes a long time to grind through all those proofs, so it could take 10 minutes or longer before I was ready to click the button again.
Yeah.
Okay, so planets under attack, we have that. I don't want my planets that are under attack. I don't want to move energy away from them, but I want to find now planets that I can make a move with, or ready to make a move. Okay, so I get all of my planets with this df.get planets, and I start applying my filters. And now what I like to do is just one line per filter, right? So I have a filter and I take a planet and I do something with it. So you can see the first one. So I only wanted to mess with planets that had a planet level greater than 1. And you could chain these filters together. Ultimately, I put it into one big long line, which is really gross, but I think it was better on performance. So it didn't have to run through the filter multiple times. It just did it in one. So what it's doing here is for each planet, filter to planets that have a level greater than 1, planets that don't generate silver. So I didn't want to mess with my my asteroid fields because I wanted to use those to move silver around, not to conquer planets. I wanted to filter to planets that had enough energy. So basically, I took the planet's current energy, and then I was looking at also the moves that were not confirmed yet. So this was taking the current energy minus the unconfirmed departures sum. This is basically a sum function, so it sums all the energy of the unconfirmed moves. And then I wanted to make sure that that was 75% of the energy cap. So I divided it by the energy cap and made sure that's above 75%. The reason with that is I didn't want to take a planet that was already low on energy and make it even lower. It wouldn't have a great range, and it could put it at risk of being captured. So I wanted to make sure I had at least 75% range. I made sure that the planet that we're looking at also was not currently under attack. So planets that were rank 1 or higher than rank 1, didn't generate silver, had at least 75% energy left, and weren't already under attack. And then I sorted those by planets that had the highest energy first. So my best planets, basically. I looked at planets I was currently attacking, so similar to planets under attack, but these are ones that were coming from me instead of the ones that weren't coming from me. And then I reduced that to this like map that I was tracking the count of all the planets and then the energy that was already attacking. So this was helpful for like combo attacks. So if there was a big planet that I didn't have enough energy to conquer with one planet, I would send multiple attacks there. This is the total moves again. So, okay, so now we get into the juicy stuff. So for each planet that I found was eligible to attack, we're going to look at what planets can that planet attack. Get into the good stuff. So we have candidates, which are defined as using the dark forest global object, get all the planets in range of the planet that we're looking at under consideration with 50% energy. So when we're looking at this circle here, you have this 50% line, and it's basically giving me all the results that are in this second circle here. So I use that data to then filter out planets I actually cared about. So I didn't want to attack my own planets, obviously. And I wanted to attack planets that had a planet level higher than 2 or had an artifact on them, because I was mostly interested in increasing my score or getting artifacts. And then I sorted those by the highest energy capacity, because I wanted to capture the highest value ones first. And then I mapped that. Oh, this is like a hack. I mapped it to a basic array for some reason. Oh, because I used to have it. It used to be sorted by attacking the closest planets first, and I was lazy, so I made it in the same format. Okay, so for each candidate that I've identified, so every planet that was in this second circle that was above planet 2 or had an artifact, I wanted to attack. But if there was over 100 unconfirmed moves, I would stop trying to attack because my game kept crashing. Extract the candidate out of the array that I hacked together here. And then I checked, okay, is this target that I want to attack, can I attack it any more than it's already at? So looking at that function, if the number of attacks that were pending or in flight to that that target, if it exceeded the number 6, the transaction would fail. I think there's like a concurrency limit that I heard about in Discord. I don't know if it's true, but I did notice that if I tried to send like a dozen attacks or more to one planet, then they would start failing. I didn't want to waste my xDAI, so I added that there. I also checked that the sum of the arriving energy, if it was less than the amount of energy required to take that planet, that's when I would want to send it. If it was greater than that, like this, greater than the planet power, then I don't need to send any more attacks because it's already going to be captured at some point. So if the planet was at capacity, I'm not gonna send another attack. I continue on to the next one in this for loop. Or if this was unowned, let's see, unowned and greater or less than. Okay, so if it was an uncaptured planet that was less than planet level 2, also ignore it, which I think that is kind of redundant. I think we filtered it out already, so that's kind of redundant.
That makes me think about filtering planets by. I've been interested in filtering out pirate planets. I guess they probably have a unique owner ID that could be filtered by. I just wasn't sure how to do it yet.
Yeah, pirate planet. You can define a pirate planet as a planet whose owner is the 0 address and has an energy greater than 0.
Ah, that's perfect. Thank you.
That's how you define a planet with pirates. And then I also had a whitelist or a safe list of people that I liked and did not want to attack anymore. So like Mr. Agent K, I put him on my whitelist and said, don't bother that guy because he's going to destroy me. So if it met any of those conditions, I would skip that target and go on to the next one. All right, now we need to figure out, we've identified a target that we want to capture. We need to figure out how much energy we need to send, because you kind of only want to send what you need. You don't want to send all your energy because you don't want to waste energy, and you don't want to make yourself vulnerable to attack. So first thing I identified was, what is the minimum energy to get from my planet to the target and then arrive with 1 energy remaining. This is the minimum you need to get there in my mind. And then I also wanted to figure out what is the number of forces, number of energy I need to get from this planet to the target, to capture it and have 10% left, because the way the energy growth works in Dark Forest is it's on an S curve, or like a bell curve kind of. So if you have 0 energy, it's going to take a long time to ramp up to that peak energy production. So I wanted to give it at least a little bit of boost and give it at least 10% to start. That's what I was thinking. So if I determine that, okay, I need this many forces to do that, but that's more than my planet has. Obviously, I can't send more than my planet has. That transaction would fail. So what I did was I said, all right, well, if I can send at least enough to do some damage, the minimum energy, and stay within 85% of my energy cap, then I'm going to do it. So if the minimum energy is less than my 85% capacity, I want to do this. If I have over 90%, I don't want to exhaust all of it, so I will make sure that I had at least 90% and that the target is unclaimed. And then later in the game, I added, I only want to do this for high-level planets. I'm going to do it. So I can determine I'll send 85% of my forces to do at least some damage to that planet and help capture it. So I did that, and then I added it to my tracking array. So if I wasn't attacking that planet already, I'm going to add an empty entry. I'm going to increase the count. And remember, we wanted the count to be less than 6, otherwise it would fail. I added the energy that we saw, how much energy is going to be arriving once it gets there. The forces decay over a distance. So when I send 1,000 energy, only 100 might get there. So I needed to track that. I wrapped the move in a try catch block, and what this does is this can throw an error. I didn't want to stop attacking with my other planets if this failed. This would fail sometimes when I had discovered a planet that was actually out of bounds. So let me zoom out a little bit here, and you have this like radius of the planet, radius of the universe, and sometimes your miner will clip a little bit outside and it will show a planet there. And this guy might have tried to attack a planet out of bounds, and it would throw an error. And I didn't want to stop all the other attacks because of one planet errored out. So I put it in this try catch block. And then I indicated that planet is now attacking because I had a second layer of things to do. So if I had a planet that was eligible to attack, but there was really nothing else it could attack, I wanted to give its energy to support one of my better planets. So if I had a planet like my best planet, if it was only like, let's say this planet like was really low on energy, I want to just send over some forces there to build it up, and so I could do another attack with that one sooner.
Can I back up and ask a question?
Yeah.
Your try catch where the planet was out of bounds, the case where that would occur, I didn't quite understand it.
Yeah. So okay, so you have a miner that goes and explores the universe.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's the boundary.
Within the boundary, but there was a bug with the remote explorer that it would look for planets right here on the edge, and it would do so in a big block. So some of that block would actually discover space outside of the radius, and it would show a planet. So you can, like, maybe this one, for example, and stuff would try to capture it. Like, we knew it was there, but this line, you can't travel outside the line.
Do we know what creates that boundary? I mean, I know what the boundary is, but what creates it? What maintains it?
So the line changes. The radius increases based on the number of players that are in the game. So you can see how my explorer has mined this like step pattern here because the line used to be right there, and then more players joined, so it expanded a little bit. So that's a really key advantage if you are like somewhere closer to the center of the game, try to move to the outside, because when this expands, I basically get first dibs on whatever planets are there.
Yeah, we were doing the same thing, trying to create a wall right there so that we could have dibs. My two friends and I are playing together. We could have dibs at the edge of the wall. I didn't know what pragmatically controlled that boundary. I guess it's probably a formula that considers the number of players and then.
Yeah, I don't know how it is in the contract, but it's like df.world radius or something. Something about radius. Let me look. Yeah, world radius. This is I'm assuming this is a read variable value on the smart contract, and that it increases it's like probably influenced by the number of players. So you can see there's 974 players currently playing. I'm guessing when the next one comes, this radius increases by a couple points. I'd have to read the code to be sure, but I think that's how it works. All right. Yeah, so like I said, this part, we won't go into it in too much detail, but it would give energy to a supporting planet, basically, because there's nothing else that it could do. And I only did it with planets that had 1,000 extra energy. It didn't really help a lot, and I probably definitely removed it sometimes. You can see I had disabled it. I did like this, and so it would never work because it was kind of just wasting money. So that's the meat of this plugin, and I have a lot of like helper functions here, and then my safe list, and then at one point I wanted to get revenge on Agent K, so I wrote down the planets he attacked me from, but I never followed up on it. There's a lot of code in here that I'm not using, but I just had written and then figured out or extracted from other plugins.
I see you going easy on Bitcoin Louie up there.
Oh yeah, Bitcoin Louie and me ended up being close friends. We actually shared our maps. So one thing you can do here is you can like export your map and then someone else can import it. So this is all like Bitcoin Louie space that he gave me. These other two blocks are just areas that someone had posted on Discord, and I imported it. And then all of this is stuff I discovered. So if you form an alliance with someone, which I'm going to guess that in the next round of this game, alliances are going to be pretty big way to win. You're going to want to share maps and things like that. So you can go to your like settings button here, copy your map to the clipboard, save that to a file, send it to your friend. They copy it to their clipboard and then import it, and then they got all the map there.
Yeah, I found that my my map is something like 98 megs now, and it's too difficult to handle on my clipboard. But there are some console commands that will. Well, I think there might even be a plugin now for map exporting to file.
Yeah.
But the bigger they get, the more difficult they are to manage.
Yeah, exactly. There's a plugin that will allow you to export parts of the map. So maybe you're. I think this is what someone did on Discord. Is they say, hey, this guy over here, I'll give anybody a level 7 planet if they wipe him out, and then he exported this part of the map. And
oh, cool.
He's still there, so it didn't work. But that's one thing you can do is you can just export a little piece if you wanted. Okay, so to recap what this plugin does, we have this class called AutoConquer, resets some parameters in the constructor. So this is always run when you call new. And then this plugin is going to call this render function and display some HTML. And if you're familiar with React, you can do a lot of stuff with that. You can have dynamically changing data. I never figured it out yet. You can have like sliders and like custom UI buttons. I was all about trying to get this optimal algorithm to conquer everything as quickly as I could. So I just did like a fast and dirty conquer function. And same thing with my other plugin, where I wanted to spread out the silver. So it's using some of the same functions and filters. I was looking at silver mines that were 80% full and spreading it out to my planets that had low silver, and then upgrading those and so on. I think walking through that one would be a lot of the same stuff and take a long time. But I will share these after this call.
It's a really good overview. Like, for me, the most helpful part of it has been getting that. So I was using the console to find the functions, but I didn't quite make the progress to use the console to test them, to test what I had written. So that just makes so much more. I don't know why I didn't make that obvious leap.
Yeah, like this is probably one of the first ones I wrote, was get my planets and then look at the first thing that came back. And I wanted to know like what is a planet in terms of the API? Like what information do I have? I have all the metadata here about hats and energy, and then I have an array of outgoing moves and artifacts and upgrades and all this stuff. And I spent most of my time in here just messing around with this DF object and seeing what's out there. Look at all this stuff I was doing. That's really, how I was able to debug and like find things. Just try it in the console first. You can even make moves in here. You can make the move in here if you wanted to. You can do everything you can do in the plugin. You can do it from your console, and then when you're ready, you can package it up as a plugin, and then you don't have to open the console anymore. You just click the button. You just click it, and then it starts doing the stuff you want it to do.
Awesome. I wonder if people on YouTube who are watching have any questions.
Yeah,
it's definitely a great foot in the door. Like, there's so much wild potential for this game, and I predict that in a month or so it will be more or less automated play versus automated play. It's moving in that direction so rapidly.
Yep. It's all about, at this point in the game, who's got the fastest computer and who's got the best plugins.
Yeah. I love that the remote crawler. Like, you don't even have to have the fastest. You just have to have enough. Like, I put every machine in my house on it for a while just because I had to, except my staking node.
Yeah, this one that I was running, this old gaming PC, it has like an Intel i5 in it, and I built it like 8 years ago. So it's only running with 4 cores. It's really not a good machine, and it's getting a very impressive 6,000, 7,000 hashes per second.
Yeah.
And when you're starting out, that's huge. That's a lot.
One of our friends has a Ryzen 9, and we connected to that, and we're getting 40K hashes. So it's wild.
Yeah.
So someone asks where we can, or I guess you haven't published your plugins, but you said you had considered it.
I will put them on GitHub right after this call, or I can do it now, I guess, and then I can share it. Let's see. So I want what did everyone want? The auto conquer one was good. Auto conquer. Oops.
I heard you mention, like, you can't share this while you're playing because these are so valuable in the game. Like, it's difficult to share your strategy while you're competing, or you don't want to give it away to the people you're competing with.
Yeah, exactly. Like I haven't shared this with anyone, and they weren't really um, meant for public consumption. So like, there's like comments in there that probably don't make sense. Um, Functions I don't use anymore, or whatever. But if it helps, like, yeah, pick it apart, take parts out you want, do whatever you want with it. It's on GitHub now. I don't know how to share this with. Maybe I can put it in the Zoom chat. I don't know.
Yeah, if you put it in Zoom, then one of us can put it, paste it over to the YouTube. But I'm so thankful that you took this time to share with us. Like, I have a much better picture of where to what direction to work in now. Like, I know that I'm not going to be a great plugin author, but I'm more able to manipulate what is already there and tweak it to my purposes.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. This thing here has been the most helpful thing I've used so far. So one thing you can do with JavaScript, right? You can import utilities or functions that are already used, and these are ones you'll see pretty common in the plugin, public plugins. But what this one does is it's a wrapper around df.move, and it's like a queue on top of a queue, and this helped me from my game crashing, so I could schedule hundreds of moves, where before I could only do like 50 or so. But once this came out, it made it much better for performance. So definitely use this move instead of the df.move. And then a side effect bonus is that if I use my plugin to schedule like 100 moves, the moves I made manually would actually take priority over those secondary queued moves. So it's just all around like one of the best things that I've been using is this.
That's an awesome feature.
Move. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, thank you so much, Preston. And so I'm glad you posted those. This video is going to be really valuable. That contest is January 18th. Do you think you're going to submit anything? I know it's not about winning, but are you thinking about throwing your hat in the game?
Probably not. I mean, just because I wrote this for me, and I hope it has value for somebody, but it needs a lot of work, and I kind of I time box myself to like I'm gonna play this game for 1 week, and then I gotta get back to work. So
yeah, I haven't made that commitment yet. So I have I shouldn't admit it, but I've really like been derelict in a lot of things. Like I'm sneaking, 15 minutes here and 10 minutes here, because it's a, that whole waiting thing. So you can submit some transactions and then you can go do a thing and then come back. And I'm like, excusing myself from dinner to run up and make some moves and then coming back.
Yeah. I mean, I was still working the whole time because most of it was like every 10 minutes I come in here and push my buttons and like see what's going on.
Yeah.
But it's a big time sink because it's just so fun. Like I couldn't step away the first like couple days. I mean, I would look and it was like 9 p.m. and then I would look again and it was 2 a.m.
Yeah, exactly. What's going on? Hey, so I do appreciate this, but while you're here, I'm really curious. Anything you want to share with us about progress on Prysm?
Sure. So Prysm is an E2 client that I work on with Prysmatic Labs. We've got a lot of changes coming up from over the holiday. We haven't done a release since mid-December. And we've got some nice performance improvements and things coming out. So stay tuned for that. And then we're working on phase 1 stuff in the meantime. And kind of hoping that will come out soon. I hear this talk coming up with you and Danny Ryan.
Yeah.
Hopefully we'll get some nice details from that.
Yeah, I'm very optimistic. Like it was such an impressive push for everyone to get ETH2 launched in 2020. So that December 1st thing, that's just incredible. And congratulations, thank you. We haven't really talked since then, so Prysm led the charge from the clients, and so you all did just fantastic work. So thank you for that.
Yeah, thanks.
And so since then, I've just been kind of like recovering and catching up with my own life, and so now I'm ready to like find out what's next in the future for ETH2. So very exciting stuff.
Yeah, me too. I'll be tuning in, and I bet I'll learn something because the phase 1 stuff's moving pretty quick, and of course spec is still being refined in all areas. So I'm looking forward to it.
Hey, so Prysm led with the client testnets before there were multi-client testnets. Do you have any inkling about whether that model will repeat, or is it too far out to really consider?
So, Prysm, we started running our own testnets very early, and the idea was to get the code in, or get the software in the user's hands and get feedback early. We may do that again, but I would prefer to do it as a coordinated testnet. So grouping it with Lighthouse and Nimbus, Teku, and whoever else is ready. That would be preferred. But if it comes out that we have an early prototype we'd like to test, we very likely will do a small Prysm only testnet to demonstrate our phase 1 functionality and to get feedback from users. That's
cool. Yeah,
kind of our model is to get feedback fast. So,
and it worked really well. Like in terms of like developing a strong following, and I loved the opportunity to test those products so early on. But yeah, I also recognize the view that it's better if it can be a coordinated multi-client testnet. So yeah, I guess we'll see what happens.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's last year was amazing and really fun, and this year is going to be the same with terms of ETH2 development.
Yeah. All right, thanks for your time, and Michael, I'm glad to have you. Thank you for Michael handled our POAP in the background, and I know he was sort of a silent partner, but he got all those POAPs distributed.
Yep, all good.
You too. So thanks both of you for coming out, and have a great day.
All right, see ya.